From UE halls to the people's call, Vera standing strong, she...
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be addressing you today. Yes, to the Honorable Political Leader, Captain Gary Griffith, DPLs, Mrs. Lauren Pouchet, Lieutenant Commander Norman Dindial, Dr. Kevin Sarran, General Secretary of the NTA, Mr. Timothy Steemal, and all the hardworking staff behind the scenes, and all agents for change, including my fellow candidates, my brothers and sisters all. I would like to start with a short quote. A heart without a dream is like a bird without feathers. Now, this is not just a quote for SCA students who sit exams tomorrow, but to all the youths and even professionals like myself and like you. The late, great Anthony Norman Stabger autobiography is entitled A Will and a Way. And I do humbly submit to that notion that where there is a will, there is a way. My will is to serve in a meaningful and impactful manner. And the NTA is the way, not just for me, but the 16 other professional and powerful candidates who have offered themselves for national service. Let's give them a round of applause. Wonderful. So, as you would have heard, my name is Dr. Vera Duki Ramlal, and I stand before you today as the NTA's candidate for St. Augustine. I have to be honest, this has always been a dream of mine, and I would really be honored and privileged to serve in such a role. Yeah. Yes. So, more importantly, I stand before you as a mother of two beautiful adult children who are both scholarship winners. I am extremely proud of them. I am also the daughter of Baby Duki, formerly Pandey with an E, originally from Princestown, St. Julian Road to be exact. Perhaps that might ring a bell. But I would like to acknowledge the Pandey brothers, uh, Raj, Basdeo, and Subhash. Yes, they have been instrumental in me being here today. Yes, they would have influenced me mentally, psychologically, educationally. So I would like to say a special thanks to the three brothers, two who would have passed on, but Subhash is still here with us, and so is my mom. Yes, so just to add, I am the third child of 7 children. So shout out to all my sisters and brothers. And last but by no means least, I am the lucky wife of a very dedicated husband and an extremely wonderful father to our children. He's also from Princestown, so I'm closer to home today. Coincidentally, although my husband and I met during my time at the university 37 years ago, we are both graduates of the same high school, Cohen Hamilton Secondary. Do we have any graduates from Cohen here? Yes, so big up to my alma mater. And I have to tell you, I am fortunate to be exposed to the entire country. I would have started teaching at Four Roads, Diego Martin, and I've taught, yeah, yes, Diego Martin. And I am actually at Diego Martin Central Secondary and Siparia West Secondary, supervising teachers at this current stage. Yeah, so before I proceed any further, I would like to publicly thank the screening committee and in particular the Griffiths for allowing me the opportunity to have a voice on this platform. I salute you, sir, let me somewhere, for not only preaching a transformative agenda, but also practicing it. So that quote I started with, I would like to repeat it. And I want you, if you take away nothing today, to remember this quote. A heart without a dream is like a bird without feathers. So my dream has always been to serve at the highest level in the country, and I'm not ashamed to say so. Yes, time to step up. Yes. So you see, growing up in Trinidad and Tobago, many of us were told the same thing. Education is a passport out of poverty. Education is a key. In fact, I recall a refrain from Sparrow's Calypso: education, education. This is the foundation. Children, go to school and learn well. Otherwise, in life, you will catch hell. We all know it. But the truth is, too many doors remain closed, even if you are educated. Yeah? So we educating, but to what end? At the other extreme, we have children who go to school hungry, children who sit in overcrowded classrooms with outdated textbooks and broken furniture. Children who pass exams but leave school with little real world skills. What is even worse, we have parents who sacrifice everything, hoping that their children will offer, hoping that education, will offer their children a better life. But instead, they meet a system that is tired, broken, and unfair. My friends, this cannot continue. This time has come not just for reform, but for transformation. Yes, real transformation. And that's exactly what we are offering you through the National Transformation Alliance, NTA, a bold, modern, people-centered education system that prepares our youth not just for jobs, but for life. Let me share with you 5 pillars of the NTA transformation plan, and I'll outline these very quickly. So the first one is reimagine the curriculum. From cramming to pass exams to creating real products. 2, equip youth with real world skills. 3, community learning hubs and parental support. We know that parenting is the foundation of our society. Yes. Fourthly, mental health, wellness, and values-based education. And fifthly, access, equity, and inclusion for all. So I will just expand on these points very quickly. So the first point, reimagining the curriculum. We know that many students, they're just cramming, learning the night before, the week before, quickly, just to pass the exam. Right? But so right now, our children are being trained to memorize, to repeat, to pass exams. Right now, our children, but where's the space for them to question, to invent, and to lead? I always say that every one of us can be a leader. Leadership is not just exclusive for CEOs and managers and supervisors, but every one of us. Under the NTA, we will design the national curriculum to include STEM, uh, science, technology, engineering, and math. Yes, we also want to focus on entrepreneurship. In fact, I myself am also a solopreneur, and the name of my business is A Plus Management Consultancy. I always believe we should aim for the best, always aim for an A plus, whether in exams or in life. So our focus will be on digital literacy, financial literacy, creative arts and storytelling, environmental responsibility, and just to reiterate, we're not just building students, we're building innovators and problem solvers. Right? Secondly, we want to focus on our youth. Every year, thousands of students leave school. We know about 20,000 students write the SEA exams annually. So the weather is not cooperating with us, but it's okay. Right, so let me continue while you secure yourselves. Yeah, so as I was saying, we have thousands of students who graduate from school, but at the end of it, there's no jobs, no plan, and no options. But the world is filled up with opportunity. It just hasn't been brought to them. This is why the NTA will invest in technical and vocational training right in the heart of our communities. I was consulting with one of my colleagues who is also a lecturer, and he wanted me to mention that these various skills training will be aligned with regional and international standards, therefore providing students with access to jobs as global citizens. And in this way, we can earn foreign exchange. We have an extremely educated Trinidad and Tobago population. And, the world is our limits, right? So we will also focus on mobile training units targeting the rural areas because we know that's still a problem, right? Our focus will be on certification programs in construction, renewable energy, agro processing, a key area, hospitality, and technology. The idea is that you earn while you learn initiatives, and we would institute apprentice type programs with local tradespeople, businesses, and innovators. If you're good with your hands, we'll help you build a career. If you're a dreamer, we'll help you turn your ideas into enterprise. No talent will go to waste. Thirdly, community learning hubs and parental support. I am very passionate about the parental support, and I know Marsha Walker is too. Education isn't just the job of the ministry, it's the job of the village. We all have heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. We will create community learning hubs in St. Augustine and across Trinidad and Tobago, equipped with Wi-Fi devices, homework support and tutoring, parenting workshops, and mentorship programs. The mentorship area, which is part of a transformational leadership approach, it's the fourth pillar. The transformational approach consists of 4 pillars: idolize, influence, inspirational, motivation, intellectual stimulation, and coaching and mentoring. As a person, I'm also involved with mentoring at the University of the West Indies, and it's a very fulfilling experience. And we would want to encourage more graduates to become involved. So we want to make sure that every child has a safe place to grow, learn, and be supported, especially after school hours when the risk is high and guidance is low. Yes, especially for our low income families. So effectively, we believe in building not just schools, but communities of learning. The fourth pillar is that of mental health, wellness, and values-based education. I'm so happy I'm with this party because everything party stands for really resonates with me. Let's talk about something we often ignore. Our children are hurting. Yes, our children are hurting between social pressures, abuse, poverty, bullying, and now digital addiction. Our young people are under siege. And yet, where is the support? Where is the support? Under the NTA, we will make mental health a core part of education by placing trained counselors and wellness officers in every school. Now, on my way here, I was chatting with a colleague, and we were talking about the importance of 2 simple things, that of having a healthy diet and exercising. And we were sharing with each other how instituting those simple 2 practices can result in a reduction in the health care cost bill. Yes. So we would also focus on care-led mental health. Friends listen to each other. So this would be pretty impactful and very low cost. We will create safe spaces for emotional growth and trauma recovery. You know, as human beings, we are really more emotional beings first than any other aspect of life. Because you know how you feel, that is what motivates you to perform and to progress. We will also bring back values based education. Now, one area where we have faltered in our country in terms of its management is that we often institute wonderful strategies, initiatives, and projects, but there's no follow through. What we do, we end up throwing out, yes, we end up throwing out the baby with the bath water, as currently occurred in our education system. And I've been speaking to our teachers, and but we did all these things, but it was not maintained. It was not sustained. You know, there's atheist more, and we've spoken about a continuous education system, but unfortunately, that has been disbanded. Right? Let's move on to the fifth pillar: access, equity, and inclusion. Yes, education must leave no one behind. Education for all is a common philosophy we have heard about. I remember the DACA, there's the Accord, that where educators were and promoted such a philosophy. You know, we are all human beings. We all have um, unleashed that talent, yeah, so that each of us can be productive citizens. So the NTA, so whether you're living in or Takrika, whether you're a child with disabilities, a slow learner, or an overachiever, you must have equal access to opportunity. We want to focus on digital classrooms. We want to ensure that every school has water, electricity, internet, and trained teachers, right? So the key point I want to make before I close is that the NTA and I share similar philosophy. The NTA focuses on something called the LAMP model. That stands for leadership, accountability, management, and performance. Yes, now I know you've heard that many promises made by different parties, but here's the difference. The NTA isn't a party built on old talk or recycled manifestos. We are a movement born out of a national need for fresh leadership, new energy, and real plans. Our transformation map is not an election gimmick. It is a 50-year vision. It is detailed, it is practical, it is costed, and it is ready to implement. While other political leaders, I just need a short time again. Yes. While other political parties, with other political parties, there have been many, many promises, but there have always been huge implementation deficits. However, the NTA guarantees that what we propose, we will deliver. Yes? So all we need now is the political will and public trust. You have to vote for red or yellow. You have to vote for blue. So thank you very much.
La, 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 la. I listening to everybody. We want something new for the country. So the people say we voting for and sit down. All the people say they're coming back and sit down. Voting and sit down. Come back and sit down. All the people say they're coming back and sit down. Come back and sit down. Come back and sit down. I see the people moving to come back and sit down. Come back. People say we vote come back and sit down. Oh, gosh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? I say a special howdy doody to our political leader, Mr. Gary Griffith, all the members of our governance team, the members of the media present, the supporters. That's what we're talking about. Point people! Point people! That's what we're talking about. I know all you here. Bana bana ila badai la bade bambera da. My friends, listen. We in a real problem brought about mainly by thee. I'm not telling you. Listen carefully. We are sure to get help from the you. But as you know, this place, we have to move on strong. We have to support each other as we move. And I telling you here what I say. On election day, vote for the. You better know, you better know. You got to know. My friends, a very good evening to you. How are you doing? You know, this evening, right now, right here, is a classic example of what we deal with. We cannot prepare ourselves for all eventualities. We hope for the best, but things come up. You have to run to the shelter and come back to sit, you know. That is life. We juggling things. We always juggling things. We juggling classes. We juggling jobs, figuring out what's next. It's very intense, you know, the world today. It's very intense. And honestly, sometimes I feel like no one in power really gets it. Like they don't understand what's going on with us out here. That's why I am here, my friends. It's why the National Transformation Alliance has been formed, and that's why we stand with you here today. And I want to get to know you so I can best represent you in the most beautiful constituency in this Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the constituency of Point 14. I'm telling you, I'm telling you. So let me tell you, I'm not here to give you no political old talk. I'm here because I'm passionate about the same things that you are passionate about. We're all trying to build a future for ourselves, right? But how can we do that when it feels like the system is stacked against us? When jobs are scarce and when finding an affordable and comfortable place to live feels impossible. What about our mental health? We worried about the planet. We worried about our safety, worried about bank charges, worried about our families, about whether our voices even matter. And do you know what? They do. Our voices, our collective voices absolutely matter. In fact, nothing matters more right now than our voices. Our silence is our downfall. Our silence is our enemy. We've got to raise our voices. On election day, when we go to the polling stations and we vote, that's how we raise our voices also. Youths, I want to talk to the youths. It have youths out here? It have youths out here? Everybody, plenty youths, boy. A big youth. Youths, think about it like this, all right? You're in your favorite game. Every decision you make, every quest you complete, every resource you gather, it shapes your gameplay. It decides your outcome. It affects your entire world within that game. Well, I'll have you know that this election is like the ultimate quest of our real lives. All of our lives. Your vote is that crucial decision, that powerful action that directly impacts the world we live in. We need real change, not just empty promises. We need education. Ay, ay, ay. Education that doesn't bankrupt us financially or intellectually. Education that teaches us about ourselves, our history. Who are we? Who are our national heroes? Does anybody know? Where's the list of national heroes? We want to know that. We need to learn about the rise of the African nations in the world today. We need to know about Ibrahim Traore. I don't want to know about Donald Trump. I want to know about the president of Namibia. I want to know about Ndaitwa, powerful woman. Countries that are growing and finding liberation. I do not want to hear about Trump and deportees and the UK and visa restriction. I'm not interested. Tell me of the good news about the tech giants in India and how that country is becoming more and more of a world leader. Tell me about that. That is what I'm interested in. That's what I want to learn. We deserve relevant education, affordable tuition, and real opportunities to learn the skills we need for good jobs, skills that can lead us into designing our next generation of amazing games, skills that can even lead us to composing incredible sound tracks or creating powerful visual art. Jobs. We need jobs. Jobs that actually pay a living wage. We need to support local businesses and create new opportunities in industries that matter to our future, matter to the future of our young people, including the booming tech and creative sectors that power the online world, that power the music scene, that powers the art community. We need affordable housing. We need places to live that don't eat up our entire salary. Anybody have a yeah for that? Yeah, we don't want to have to pay 3/4 of our salary to live. So we actually gonna have time in such a situation when we could find that kind of housing. We'll have time and resources, to play with our loved ones, to spend time with them, to create that music, and time to pursue our artistic passions. We need real support for mental health in this country. It's real. We need to access the resources and a community that cares, because even the best gamers, the most talented musicians, and the most visionary artists need to level up on their mental well-being. I must insert here, my friends, that marijuana abuse among our young people, marijuana abuse is your enemy. It will compromise your mental health. We need a commitment to mitigating the effects of climate change, because we want to keep enjoying this beautiful planet, both in the real world and if we immerse ourselves in the worlds that we explore online, the inspiration to find in nature our art and the spaces where we can, explore online and gather and create. And let's be real, nobody wants to be buffering online, and definitely not buffering in this real world, because life, my friends, needs for us to be in a good environment, free of disasters, and we should not have a fear of closures of creative spaces due to neglect. The NTA will champion the expansion of accessible high-speed internet, because in today's world, gaming and many other online activities are a major part of our lives. We earn online. We recreate online. We court our lovers online. We find new recipes online. We design online. We create online. We will work tirelessly at the NTA to ensure that everyone has access to the connectivity that they need to play, to learn, to earn, and to connect. This includes working to create spaces at community centers with high-speed internet access, working with providers to lower costs, and working on subsidies to make sure that this is a reality. Crucially, I promise, my friends, I promise to foster spaces where your creativity can thrive. We need more accessible venues for live music, dedicated areas for artists to showcase their work. How come? Answer me this. How come farmers have a market so we could go there and get the sustenance we need for our bodies, but artists do not have a space where we can go to get the sustenance we need for our minds and for our emotional well-being? I will create community hubs, my friends, equipped for gaming, gaming tournaments, and collaborative projects. I will work to establish and support initiatives that provide resources and platforms for young people to express themselves through art, music, and other online activities. Your creativity is vital, and our community will be richer for it. And I have a plan. Yeah, the NTA has a plan. I'm not just here talking about these things because they're nice and they sound good, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to fight for policies that make doing business easier in Trinidad and Tobago or Guam. We need an ease of doing business in Trinidad and Tobago. I will fight to create jobs, especially in the gaming sector, music sector, art industries. We will make housing affordable everywhere. We will not build tenement yards to encourage lawlessness, nor will we be driven by voter padding in areas. No, we will be driven by the need that exists for widespread housing, widespread affordable housing. I'm going to push for more mental health resources. We all are traumatized in this country by the daily murders around us, the home invasions, the robberies, the head in the cooler. What was that? The decomposing bodies, the car thieves. I could go on. But it is affecting us mentally. Whether we accept it or recognize it, we are being traumatized by living in this twin island nation. We need an urgent mental public health intervention in this nation. We need to smile again. We need to love and laugh again. We need to be able to wear our jewelry again. We need to walk home at night again. We need to hear, morning neighbor. We need to hear that again. Yeah, we need to laugh. And I don't know, I know many of you may not know, but I know how to make people laugh. I'm telling you, I do. I know how to make people laugh. And at the present, and right now, if it is that you are sitting so attentively listening to me, a comedian, and you laugh at what goes on in the parliament with our current crop of parliamentarians, that says it all. We need emergency and urgent intervention. An NTA-led parliament will invest in a truly sustainable future. And I'm going to create a youth advisory council in Point Fortin so I can hear your voices directly. I don't want nobody to tell me what's going on with the youths. Everybody say, yeah. I don't want nobody to tell me what's going on with the youths in Point. I want the youths in Point to tell me for themselves. So we are forming a youth advisory council. And I want to hear from them about everything, including internet infrastructure that they need for seamless online gaming and whatever resources we need to support our creative endeavors. You might be thinking, young people, does my vote matter? I hear it when I'm out there canvassing. They don't believe that their vote matters. But I want to say to you, everybody, old and young in Trinidad and Tobago, your vote matters. Your vote is that power up. Your vote is that critical hit. Your vote is that game-changing move in the real world. Your vote is that brushstroke on a canvas of your future. Your vote is the beat in that soundtrack of our community. Your vote is a crucial input in the game of our lives. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Many people have it to say that Gary Griffith is a great police commissioner. Well, guess what? I used to say that too. Today I know a little better. I know him a little better, and I know he's not a great police commissioner. He's a great leader. He is a great leader. He understands that he needs to put a team together to bring about change. That is what he did in the police service. He created a team of the best people on the job. Even those who know more about policing than him, he brought them in. He set them on their task, but he did not go and relax in his office. No. He measured their performance. He held them accountable. He implemented management procedures. He engaged new technology and emerging technologies. He's a great leader. And if Trinidad and Tobago ever needed a great leader, we need that great leader right now. Weak leaders bring hard times. In Trinidad and Tobago, we are the living proof of that statement. Fortunately, strong leaders bring good times. And we're due for some good times. Oh, we are due for some good times. Gary Griffith and the team at the NTA will bring those good times. I wrap up, my friends. I want you to know that election is not about jobs. This election is about having a place to live. Places you live in the world and the world that you will inherit. It's about having the time and resources to pursue your passions, whether that's coding, creating art, composing music, staging a play, a calypso show, inventing something to make our lives better, creating content, designing new fashion, cooking a wicked meal, teaching lessons online, innovation in agriculture, processing in fisheries, whatever you want to do to conquer this world. Don't let anybody else decide that for you. So level up on your civic engagement and vote. Follow me on social media, Errol Fabian. Let's work together. I can only give you what you want if I know what you want. Let's build a future that we can all be proud of. A future where you can afford to live, work, connect, and express yourselves fully. vote for Errol Fabian in Point Fortin. In San Fernando West, vote for Kevin Sarran. In Chaguanas East, for Norman Dindial. In Aranguez St. Joseph, for Gary Griffith. In St. Augustine, for Vera Duki Ramlal. And wherever you are, look for this sign on your ballot paper, the NTA with the lighthouse, and vote for the NTA. And let's play the next level, my friends. Let's create a masterpiece. Let's make music together. God bless you all. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people.
We vote in Fabian.
Political leader of the National Transformation Alliance, Captain Gary Griffith, members of the executive, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, good evening. I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today, and I'm humbled and honored to be here in the city of San Fernando. My place of residence is Chaguanas East, the place from which I will faithfully and effectively represent and serve you at the highest levels once given the opportunity. My friends, there's a time in every nation's history when a choice must be made. Now is that time. We must choose between repeated failure and repeated excuses versus demonstrable results and experiences. For the last decade, we collectively experienced the effects of a clueless, deceiving, and out-of-touch government and an opposition of no value. And it is this fact that significant and expeditious transformation is not only needed, but absolutely necessary. We know that this is no ordinary time for our citizens. And tonight, it's about keeping it truthful and simple. No lies, no deceptions, no false promises that we can't deliver to try to fool the people. We have seen these all too well on this election campaign from both the yellow and red parties. And they are both trying to deceive you. Have you not noticed that they are the same clowns, only with a different mask? It is much like the Japanese face mask trick, where it's the same magician and it changes the mask all the time. Allow me to demonstrate what I'm talking about. Keep your eyes focused on me and don't blink because you will miss it. It's the same waste of time, lies, and shoddy leadership. Don't be fooled and deceived by exchange for proper transformation. All are symptomatic of the intellectual barrenness that constitutes their type of governance. We are plagued by violent crime, economic mismanagement, legitimized corruption, and moral bankruptcy. Imagine this week, political party that drain, and we have a box drain queen. And we go get them box drain and box drain. If you put us in power, you're going to get box drain in a rokung kotungkung. When you get this box drain, hear what? It's like snake and ladders. It twisted all over the place. There's no gradient. The water can't come out. The water stagnated in the box drain. It's smelling stink. It's full of what? Mosquito. And you asking us where we have malaria? How come we have malaria in Trinidad and Tobago? Come now. And when you get the price of the contract, you figure it's our airport they build in Piaco. Listen, the corruption don't stop there, you know. We have a eater food politics in Trinidad. Imagine I walk in my constituency and I have people coming to me, Commander, where my jersey? And what you have for me? So I thinking that, you know, they want to hear my policies and things, so I sat around my ship. You know what, Commander, with the money in the jersey? I was like, what? All the hard things here. We need to talk about money in the jersey. But we can't blame them. You know why? Because it has been institutionalized by previous parties all through. They have been come to accept and condition that when you walk around in the political season, you have to get a t-shirt and you have to get money in the t-shirt. They buy that. That is something that has been conditioned. Why can't we do the right thing? We are supposed to be able to do the right thing. And furthermore, if we have moral standards, we will. But it goes further. It's into our institutions and services. Imagine if I bong somebody with my car. And I wrong, I bounce them from the back, you know. I can't come out and tell the person here what? I wrong. I bounce them, I wrong, but I can't do that. The NTA will fix those kinds of things. We will bring back the morals to the people where you can say, here's what, I did something wrong, I take responsibility for it, and here's what, I will fix that problem. This nation is desperate for change. Knowing that this country is on the brink of collapse under the present administration, and knowing all too well that the present opposition is no better. One party telling you will get a doctor at every doorstep when we can't even pay for doctors to attend to patients in our health facilities. And another party telling you will get a virtual doctor if you want it. Oh God, make it make sense now. All, however, is not lost. I assure you that the National Transformation Alliance is our beacon of hope, established with robust pillars that will serve the people of this great island. Leadership, accountability, management, and measurement of performance. The lamp will dispel the present darkness enveloping our nation and our daily lives. Let us remember that any government's first and foremost and most sacred responsibility is the protection of its citizens. However, throughout the country, the challenges are many, from daily murders, home invasions, burglaries, unemployment, flooding, and poor living conditions among the endless threats and pains that leave us anxious and afraid of facing our daily lives. Desperate for safety and security, just to be able to enjoy our hard-earned belongings. This human desire to just feel safe in our homes and to feel protected from the ills of poor governance that has been handed down to us by this and past governments is something that we at the NTA share with you. We have watched our institutions wither away without any proper policy to move the country forward. Poor leadership and an absence of accountability with little or no management principles, and a measure of performance from our leaders, past and present. This has led the NTA to develop something called a map to transformation. Now is the time for professional approach to securing this country. National security is no joke, and there should be no jokers involved in implementing measures to serve, protect, and defend this nation. Not so Marlon Hopkins. I have had over a quarter of a century of just such experience at the national, regional, and international levels. We are an island state, and only during an election the government realizes that it needs to maintain and purchase naval assets to secure our borders, and that fishermen exist. No one has offered any viable solutions, only failed manifestos and broken promises. Water for all since 1962. Really? Promise of good roads. Really? We're not closing down Petrochin. Really? Internet for all. Really? And most recently, all citizens will be safe and secure, and we will get a handle on crime. Really? All these failed promises and all past administrations, and mind you, it's their job to do and deliver, has now led us to this moment. A moment where this government has resorted to the final and ultimate weapon in its arsenal to fight crime, placing you under a state of emergency and removing your civic rights and liberties. Make no mistake how they tried to spin it. Our mobility might not have been drastically restricted, but your constitutional rights were removed. A moment where this very government has concealed or conceded that the problem of violent crime and murder lies with gangs that they can't control and have outmaneuvered them at every turn. A place of a failed state of emergency. Think about that for a moment. Had a state of emergency, crime committed as normal, murders committed as normal. Anybody feel safer in the state of emergency? Failed state of emergency. And I'm stressing on state because normally we don't want to go and get failed states. But we move from that to a failed state and we try emergency, a failed state of emergency. National security and competent leadership. That is what you had passing for it. Failed states of emergency. I ask you tonight, do we want 5 more years of that? Do you? On the 20th of April, vote for competence. Vote for better national security for your children, for yourselves, for this nation. Vote for a brighter Trinidad and Tobago. And we move forward to a new chapter in our nation's lives. New ideas, forward thinking, better security and safety infrastructure. Vote for the commander this election. Vote for the NTA. I want you to reflect also on the other moments where rule of law was suborned by the attorneys generals. What short memories we have. I say to you, same government, different mask. That level of obfuscation, incompetence, mismanagement, dereliction of duty, lack of accountability and transparency have no place in government and have no place in Trinidad and Tobago. Friends and fellow citizens, the NTA has an ethos, simple model, 4 key pillars, the LAMP model. We'll bring this nation all that has been absent for the last 15 years. These are the key things lacking within our institutions today. Quite perhaps, yet no one has been able to bring that to the table in a tangible fashion until now, and we can do it. These are the principles embodied by all members of the NTA, and especially personified by our political leader. Serious crime cannot be overstated, a societal cancer that literally threatens our very existence. What is the future response now that the state of emergency has come to an end and failed to curb anything? Well, one response given thus far is to keep up the joint patrols. Really? How successful has that been? Something that has been going on since the Operation Anaconda with the same menial outcome. Where's the commissioner of the police in all of this? And Marlon Hopkins, what has happened to Erla? Anybody about Erla? There will be challenges, my friends, but critical thinking has to start now. It won't start with those presently in charge and those in opposition. The National Transformation Alliance assures all of you that we will reduce crime and facilitate the growth and expansion of thriving law-abiding communities in all areas within Trinidad and Tobago. We will ensure that proper leaders are placed in the correct portfolios. But we do not ascribe to eater food politics. We seek to place the right people, properly trained and educated with social and moral values to serve the people. The first and foremost thing is fixing national security. It's a domino effect. When we are safe, everyone prospers. The country prospers. You prosper. I can discuss an entire thesis to explain how security and investment work. But as we said, we are keeping it simple. And apparently I had to keep it a little shorter. If you can do your business without fear of extortion or corruption from both white and blue-collar criminals, investment and the economy will strengthen. To do this, you start by rooting out all the corrupt individuals, the eater food individuals, the non-performers, and place the right people in leadership positions, not government cronies. We bring solutions for not just constituents, but for total national development and transformation. No fairy tales, no pie in the sky manifesto that the sycophants want to hear. Nonsensical chatter of doctors at every house, and you can't even pay the doctors at the hospital. Make the tongue the wild, wild west and give everyone a gun and empty the clip. Hoodwinking the public by giving the illusion of doing this grand thing, of removing taxes from public servants' pension that will benefit only very few, those that are the very high and top of the bracket, the top of the pyramid structure, the PS and others, rewarding the loyalists of the service that towed the line and made it to the top. We need proper representation in Parliament. And I say again, not eater food people. People who understand the legislative procedure and process and how and why laws are amended and proposed for the benefit of the entire population with respect to the ever-changing environment. Persons who will advocate and support a bill laid because it is the right thing to do and not blindly remain silent behind party lines. We have to move away from party voting and vote proper representation and good governance. We will be supporting and trusting the process without political interference, that a competent and credible Commissioner of Police will be appointed to lead the force, regaining public confidence and setting back policies in place that have either been withdrawn or dismantled because of political ignorance. And I have to jump forward, so much to say. There's so many things that we need to fix, but my time is limited. And as I close, I would like to reiterate that transformation can only come from you. Without you, we will continue with increasing crime, increasing poverty, poor infrastructure, inadequate water supply, flooded homes, and violence in our schools and fear in our hearts. Neither of the two major parties can take us forward. And I repeat that, neither of the two major parties can take us forward. Let us be the beacon of change and a better life. Together we can revive the economy and insulate our homes from crime, create better communities, provide better services, and create a better quality of life and a safe haven to come home to. Time, Trinidad and Tobago, to get woke politically and vote for proper representation, not party. Be responsible. Don't incite the people in Trinidad and Tobago to stay home and shut down the nation. That's what you're doing when you tell people stay home and go and vote. Imagine I have to go to the pharmacy to get something on election day for my sick mother or my sick aunt, and the pharmacist isn't there. I have to get the taxi and you're telling the taxi driver to stay home. Be responsible. Do the responsible thing. And you can see that neither party can do that. On the polls on the 28th, vote for performance. Vote for responsibility. Vote for good governance. Take that with the NTA. Look for our symbol, the bridge with the lighthouse, over the letters. Vote for Dr. Vera Duki, Ramlal, St. Augustine. Vote for Errol Fabian, Point 14. Vote for Dr. Kevin Sarran, San Fernando West. Vote for me, Commander Norman Dindial, Shagonasis. Vote for the NTA. I thank you.
Oh, baby, you know it's all about NTA. Here we go. Somebody say NTA.
Yes, we voted Dr. Kevin Sarran. We voted Sarran. We voted Sarran. On election day, we voted Dr. Sarran. Dr. Kevin Sarran. He is the one. So on election day, we voted Kevin Sarran.
You all hear that song? Good night, San Fernando West. Let's have a round of applause for the NTA.
Somebody say yeah, yeah.
I want to make special mention tonight to that young man in the back there, Mr. Errol Fabian, who actually sang that beautiful song for me for San Fernando West. Let's give a round of applause. Now, everyone has the same ability, but not everybody is afforded the same opportunity. Let me repeat that again. Everybody has the same ability. Not everybody is afforded the same opportunity. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been walking through the lengths and breadth of San Fernando West, throughout the entire constituency, and I've spoken to a lot of people. And of all the conversations I've had, one thing became crystal clear. The number one concern in San Fernando West is not crime, believe it or not. It's actually employment, or should I say, a lack of employment. Now, let me ask you this. How is it that we have a multi-million-dollar facility going up just a walking distance from right here, the San Fernando West waterfront, right here in our own backyard in San Fernando, and yet still our young people are unemployed? You see trucks, you see cranes, you see all of these economic activity happening. But what you don't see is your neighbor working at the site. You don't see people from your community working at the site. That is because the contractors that are being given these projects are all from the outside. And these people, they hire subcontractors who are also from the outside. And everybody seems to be eating their food except the people of San Fernando West. This has to come to an end. If, or should I say, when I become the MP of San Fernando West, I find that song real good. Let me say that again. When I become the MP of San Fernando West, I will push for local labor requirement. For every multi-million-dollar facility that goes up here in San Fernando West, I will make it a requirement such that the labor force has to be at least 25% of the people that belong to the area. Let's have a round of applause, San Fernando West.
Somebody say yeah, yeah.
Now, the contractors will want to tell you, they will say, you know, they don't have, these people in San Fernando West, they don't have the skill set we're looking for. The good thing about this is that the workforce is divided into both skilled and unskilled laborers. So if San Fernando West does not have the skilled workers, we'll provide them with the unskilled workers. They are not getting away. Let's have a round of applause for that. We cannot continue with this madness where we are spending millions and millions of dollars in San Fernando, but not on San Fernando. Construction can't be happening in our backyard, yet still everybody is bawling for, you know, a lack of employment or day off. But it gets worse. Just about 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, a contract was awarded for a total of $300 million to build 300 homes in the region of San Fernando West, adjacent to the billion-dollar waterfront that you all see in just a walking distance from here. And I want to ask you a question and give you something to think about. Why use prime commercial land that could generate an income for the city of San Fernando to build houses that will give us no revenue? Is it really about the housing, or is it about stacking the electoral cards for future votes? How picturesque is it that we will now have a low-income housing scheme put up right next to a billion-dollar waterfront project? Is that the tourist attraction that they were talking about? It couldn't be. And then on the other side, we have a political party that says outright that as soon as they get into government, the very first thing they want to do is they want to cancel the project without even giving it a thought. Just so, the first thing they want to do is cancel the project without even studying the details of the project. And let me draw a reference to what I'm talking about. If $300 million will give you 300 homes, and somewhere in the contract is a clause that if you break this contract, you still have to pay them $3 million. Would you want to break the contract? The answer is no. Exactly. To them, this is simply a political game, a gimmick. Anything that this government does, basically, they automatically feel like they need to oppose it. Not out of principle, but out of political convenience. And this is definitely not the type of leadership that we want. But let's talk about another issue. And these are issues that I all picked up from the ground. This is not something you Google. You didn't Google 50 ways to do something or 50 issues for San Fernando West. This is issues on speaking to the people. A lot of people in San Fernando have concerns about the traffic situation. They spend roughly about 1 to 2 hours every morning to come into San Fernando, and then another 1 to 2 hours to go out of San Fernando. And yet still nobody is relying on the public transport system. And you have to ask yourself why. And if I ask anybody in the front row here, if you go abroad, the first thing you'll do is look for where you can get an Uber or a bus or something like that, some sort of public transportation. But we're not doing that in Trinidad, and you have to ask yourself why. And the answer is because the public transport system in Trinidad and Tobago is unreliable. How hard is it in 2025 such that we can't have an application-based system, an app on your phone or a website, where you could purchase a bus ticket and you could track your bus in real time. What if you knew that the next bus was coming every 15 minutes all the way up to midnight? Wouldn't that give you some amount of reliability that you could use this public transport system? Imagine in this bus has AC, it has Wi-Fi, and it's totally reliable. And think about the traffic situation. Imagine you have a circuit. Let's say around San Fernando, you go around in a circle, and you have at least about 5 points, A to E. And you have five buses, one at each point, and every 15 minutes, a bus is leaving from point A to go to point B. The bus that was at point B now going to point C. And you can now have these buses almost free to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, free accessibility. You could park at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy or somewhere distant and avoid the traffic situation in San Fernando. This is the kind of leadership that we definitely need in Trinidad and Tobago, and the kind of leadership that I want to bring to the table. Now, anybody could identify a problem, but you have to ask yourself, how many people can produce tangible solutions? Now, if you ask anybody outside of San Fernando West, they will tell you the most concerning thing in Trinidad and Tobago is the crime situation. The great thing about the NTA is that most of the NTA, or a large portion of the NTA, knows exactly what they're doing. They are literally crime fighters. And I think we could safely say that the NTA places first in the entire Trinidad and Tobago when it comes to fighting crime or have solutions to fight crime. There's no second place. It might be first place, which is NTA, and then maybe third and fourth and whatever place you want to fall into. Now, I want to address crime from a different perspective, something that nobody else is addressing, where I want to introduce the idea of prevention through rehabilitation. Now, there's a statement that goes, if life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And you can make a business from it. And here in Trinidad and Tobago, the one thing we seem to be mass producing is the criminal elements. In fact, we are producing so much criminal elements that we are exporting them. The kingdom has basically barred us from going into their territory without the use of a visa. So here's an idea and something that could bring a solution to this situation. Let us rehabilitate the non-violent offenders. Imagine persons who are in prison with less than, let's say, 6 months or a year left in their prison term. And we start a project called the Agro Prison Project. We give these people the ability to plant within the prison system to plant agriculture. They will now earn a stipend. When they come out of prison, they will now have a trade. They will get this money or the stipend that they earn when they exit prison. So they already have a money and a startup capital to move it. They will have a trade. They will have a purpose. And these people will now have a reason not to go back into prison. They say, one stone could kill 2 birds. Imagine how many birds you could kill with this one stone. This simple solution could provide the solution to the overcrowding in prison. We could provide a solution to improve the food security in Trinidad and Tobago. The same food that they're producing in prison, they could now sell that outside of the country and make money. They could export that. That could be a forex earner. And on top of that, it fights the root problem in Trinidad and Tobago, which is dealing with the crime. Now tell me something. Has any other political party ever mentioned anything like this before? And of course not. I don't expect anybody here to say yes. And you know why? Because these types of ideas don't give kickbacks. It's just the right thing to do, and the right thing to do for a country. And doing good by the people doesn't pay too well, especially for the established parties. Now let me ask you another question. How many people, we've all heard the Dragon gas deal basically coming to an end or a halt. How many people or how many politicians have you heard so far saying that they're going to put $1 back in the treasury? You've heard politicians talking about how much they want to spend. In fact, I read a newspaper article that stated that 25% of the 300 promises that both political parties promised were fulfilled. It means that 75% were unfulfilled. So when they go on a platform and they tell you they're going to do A and they're going to do B, these people really have no real intentions of delivering exactly what they say. Now, here's an idea. And there's only 2 ways you could really save money. You either have to cut back on your spending, or you have to find a new way to make more money. I would like to propose an idea, particularly in the last year of elections, or the election cycle. Every year, we have elections every 5 years. The last year, that all government contracts above a certain denomination be halted unless it's both agreed by both the opposition and the current government. This will simply eliminate suspicious spending, last-minute campaign financing, and kickbacks. Now, I just want to touch on one point before I close off. Imagine your child graduating from university, whether it's a secondary school or tertiary school education. And meanwhile, you have political parties boasting they have hundreds of thousands of supporters. And a large proportion of these supporters have children that also don't have jobs, who have also graduated from secondary and tertiary level education. And yet still, these same political parties can't find a single young person to go up for the electoral bid as the electoral candidate. Instead, they pick a retiree, someone who claims that he has a vision for the youth. And I say, make it make sense. Imagine a book written for mechanics by a non-mechanic. Imagine a book written, How to Be a Plumber, written by a non-plumber. Does that make any sense to you all? Absolutely not. And this is exactly why I say we need to be cognizant of what these political parties tell you versus what they actually do. It's time to turn San Fernando West into a model city for the rest of Trinidad and Tobago to drool on. There's an old Chinese proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time to plant it is right here and right now. Join us as we take back our country and give it back to its people. And the only way to do this is by voting the National Transformation Alliance. My name is Dr. Kevin Sarran, your candidate for San Fernando West. Thank you.
And so good evening to the residents of Sando West, members, supporters, the campaign team, the governance team, candidates of the National Transformation Alliance, members of the media. I am pleased to be here. We have several offices throughout Trinidad for this upcoming general election. One is Sando West. And there's an obvious reason for this. This is a strategic battleground for a general election. As always, this is one of the key marginal seats, along with St. Joseph, of which I am the candidate. And based on that, we were very selective in the seats we decided to participate in, whereas in other political parties, they can go up for 41 seats because they have over $100 million that they have in their campaign financing. And the reason for that has to be something that I've been asking for years. What happens is that many of the funds that go to these political parties, it is based on persons who got major contracts when you're in government or in opposition, and it is big payback or hold this to remember me if and when you get into government. And I think that is really unfortunate. But ethics, I think not. I think we need to try to change that, and that makes it very difficult for so-called third parties to participate in. Having said that, I do thank each and every one of you all for being here this evening. I know it is very difficult. Sometimes two persons, they're threatened with their jobs. In fact, we lost 2 candidates because they were actually told by individuals of their employers and even their family members, you cannot go up because of our affiliation to certain political parties. Thankfully, we have a very good candidate here, a very good soldier, Dr. Kevin Sarran. I think he will do an excellent job going up in this seat for Sando West. This election, it is all about choices, and the choices you have to select. People have asked me how it is that we don't say much about the PNM. So let me clarify it here immediately. In 1986, I think the PNM, they would have been at their worst. It was still 3-3, and PNM still acquired 188,000 odd votes. In 2010, PNM at its worst again, 29-12, they got almost 300,000 votes. 10 years of us understanding it has been obviously the worst government the country has ever seen. You think what we're going to see now is going to change the minds of some people? So there's that 300,000 at PNM till they die, and that's not changing. We will probably get a few that may come across and join the NTA or third political party. But the bulk of persons who represent and support that bridge constituency, that third party, those independent voters, those floating voters, independent thinkers, that 350,000, and those persons decide outside of the PNM. So the option here is really and truly for that 350,000, we're going to vote for the UNC or the NTA. And we have to show to the country that we are the viable option, and also to show to the country why it's not. Testing 1, 2.
And again, we could go back to that 350,000. We have to, in 2007, the Congress of the People acquired 148,000 votes. And that was just about 18 years ago. It is really comical to hear Prakash Ramadas state that the Congress of the People is the third major political party. The last time that the COP took part in a general election, they got 467 votes. So from 148,000, they moved to 467. And it has reached that point where the Congress of the People has even been demoted from even being in relevance to the coalition of Kamala's interests, where they have actually acquired 2 seats in comparison to Philip Alexander's 3 with the PEP. The PEP, by the way, is a political party that has lost every single deposit in every election they have taken part in. The NTA, we are proud to say we have in every election we have taken part in, 100% of our deposits we got back, all 31 seats. And those were the 31 seats that were the hardest PNM seats. We were able to cut the gap from 53 to about 80 or 90% in every single of the safest PNM seats. So we earned our spot here to be recognized as the de facto third party, the major party, the party that can actually cut inroads into the PNM and the UNC. The UNC, as I said, they try to corral as many of these third parties as possible because the data has shown that in the 36 years of the existence of the UNC, they have never won any election on their own when a third party is involved. So, and the same thing is going to happen here. What we would not have done is to have a repeat of what took place in 2010 to 2015, whereby the Congress of the People, it was what I refer to as political domestic violence. Once a certain party will get 21 seats, they saw no need for the COP, and that caused a party to move from 148,000 to 467. We have to make sure that there will never be a repeat of the Rishmis, the live sport, the Color Me Orange, the Hoop of Life, removing people like Dwayne Gibbs and bringing in a Stephen Williams. We have to make sure you make that choice. And that's why I would like to speak today more about policies, because that is the decision you need to make. We are here to try to grasp the attention of those independent voters, those floating voters, those persons who are going to analyze and see for themselves which political party is to go in there, provide me with my most fundamental rights, the benefits that I am entitled to. Because we as politicians, we work for the citizens of this country. And I'll give you simple examples about policies. Sport. You notice you'd have never heard anything from these 2 major political parties about sport on a major general election campaign. They see sport as an extracurricular activity. They have never put sport as a prime activity. The only time it was ever done was live sport. And we saw what happened there. $400 million pumped and wasted, given primarily to criminal elements that had a byproduct of over 40 lives being lost. But if we use those funds in the right manner to have assisted the development of sport, it could have done so much towards the development of Trinidad and Tobago. Because, as I mentioned, when I was Commissioner of Police, we had the Commissioner's Cup. We were able to take different communities and bridge the gap in the communities where actually gang leaders were actually seeing their children playing a sport for their community against another gang leader, and the gang leader watching the gang leader, and all of a sudden sport became a catalyst towards uniting communities. Let them have their battle on the football field. Let us understand that it is a sport, but we can burn our energies in that manner. That is known as something called secondary crime prevention. Primary crime prevention is hard targeting, deterrence, taking away the product of opportunity. Tertiary crime prevention involves the criminal justice system. Secondary crime prevention, that involves finding avenues to turn persons away from a life of crime, be it education, better health, better training, and extracurricular activities. Young persons need to burn their energies. And we have never, as I said, no government has ever been able to utilize the importance of sport towards development of Trinidad and Tobago. So they will speak about hospitals, they will speak about roads, bridges, national security, never about sport. So this is just one of the policies I intend to mention to show that unlike other political parties, we intend for the first time to turn the Ministry of Sport into a core ministry and not a secondary ministry, or just by the way. And all our national teams have been affected tremendously over the last few decades, whereby other countries will have that development program. My son, in fact, he was on the national under-17 team about 5 years ago, and they took part in the World Cup qualifiers. And out of the 23 players that were selected, Stern John and Kenwin Jones were the coaches, only 3 of them still play football. They've just gone on the wayside. Other countries, the Costa Rica, the Panamas, the United States, your under 17 immediately becomes the under 19, immediately becomes the under 21, immediately becomes the under 23. Keep them as a unit. All our national teams, they just assemble them a few months before a tournament. If and when they lose, they get knocked out because they're never able to get in the top 4 or so forth in CONCACAF to qualify for the World Cup, and you disband them. That has destroyed our national teams. But if and when they succeed, you have all of the motorcades and naming aircraft after you and all of that. Our national sportsmen and sportswomen do not need the praise after. They need the support now. And the importance of that it is not just about winning gold medals and qualifying for World Cup. It has to do with the development of sport as an avenue to build and turn young persons away from a life of crime, but also to help develop them into being a better young man or young woman. Sport, being in a team sport, for example, you get the character traits of uniformity, punctuality, teamwork, leadership, not giving up, strategy, tactics. All of these different things assist in building the character trait of a young man or woman. And we have never seen that as an important for sport. I recall when I was at the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst. Now, that is supposed to be a military academy trained for you to fight wars and battles. I thought that was what it was about. No, it was about leadership. And 25% of the time I spent at Sandhurst was about sport. And it showed the importance of a military academy understanding sport because it involves that teamwork, that discipline, that camaraderie. And it assisted me in my own development. I was the captain of my company hockey team, football team, cricket team. I played first 11 for Sandhurst. And if it is that we can get young persons, every young person to play a sport, you may not become a national sports player, you may not become world class, but it will help develop you. And that's why I think what we intend to do is to do everything possible to try to get sport to be a core curricular activity. And there's again 161 odd candidates that are taking part in this general election. I know the 82 candidates from the PNM and the UNC. I don't think any of them ever kicked a lime, so they don't really understand the value. So if one of them gets back into government solely, we're going to have the same situation, the same avenue of us bypassing sport and not using it in the proper manner that it should, which is to develop young men and women and to develop a country. I would like to clarify a situation about policy pilferage. And it has to do with honesty. You hear political parties, they will be here to boast about the things they intend to achieve. Over the last few weeks, one political party, they've boasted about having a Ministry of Defense, a Ministry of Home Affairs, a Ministry of Justice, $1,000 for officers, $1 million for the family of persons killed in the line of duty, a community comfort patrol, making firearms accessible. Every single thing that Kams has spoken about is what she got from me, every single thing. And what is sad is when I said it, she had the audacity to say it was not true. I made a request. I said, if it is you say it's not true, I am asking you to please give me the clearance to be able to reveal the emails. You have not replied. So I am calling you out, Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, that you're a liar. Because it's right here. What is this here? Email dated Tuesday, the 11th of May, 2010. Kamala to Gary Griffith and Ernie Ross. Please liaise with Ernie immediately to get this out. Let me see the newspaper supplement draft before. I have the document that was also sent. What's this? Again, in May 2010, the restructuring of national security into the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Home Affairs. So I did all the draft for the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Home Affairs. And that's why she cannot speak about how you can set and structure the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Home Affairs, because it came here. So if it is you want to steal, at least have the honesty to say, look, I agreed, I took it from Gary Griffith, but I intend to implement it. But you can't implement it. You see, knowing what to do and how to implement something are two totally different things. But don't you dare accuse me of being a liar when you are the liar. Because the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Ministry of Justice, the $1,000 being given to every single member of the protective services, all of this was drafted. I have all the documents sent to you just prior to 2010. The $1 million for persons killed in the line of duty. This was drafted by myself and sent as a cabinet note to allow it to happen. The GPS bracelets, when I drafted it, she kept doing this in 2010, saying, and we put in GPS bracelets, and I had to explain to her, GPS bracelets for persons who have been sentenced, it's on your ankles, stop using your wrists, it's not that type of bracelet. She didn't even know, and she kept doing this in 2010. We are going to give GPS bracelets for persons who will be given probation. The Community Comfort Patrol, the Diamond vessels that we were able to get for half the price of the OPVs, the Rapid Response Unit, the Emergency Response Patrol, the National Operations Center, the National Security Special Operation Group, the National Security Training Academy, every single thing that they boast about, it is done through here. And it's not me, it was a team. And that is what I continue to do. I need a team. I try to build a team. It is unfortunate that certain political parties don't understand the importance of a proper team. They want yes people around them. I give you the assurance, I do not want yes people around me, because when you have yes people around you, you make mistakes. You can't afford to make mistakes as a prime minister because that affects a country. What we need is to ensure that you have the best persons available, the best persons around you. I am prepared to be the dumbest person in the room on any specific matter if that is going to help develop my team, make it more productive, and to develop a country. Prime ministers and leaders must understand that. When it is you just have these yes people around you, if you bring the yes people, you will have persons who you have never heard about. You have people who will probably say carry a purse behind you for 5 years and they become members of parliament. I want people with track record. I want people with the capability, the qualification, the expertise, the training, the capability, the leadership skill to transform Trinidad and Tobago. Putting yes people around you is not going to cut it. So when it is, again, if it is that you do not have the capability of qualified persons to give you the policies that are required, and you intend to piggyback from others, at least have the common courtesy, the dignity, and the honesty to admit where you got it from. I now want to move on to about bribery. So just short lines, I want certain one words. This is about bribery. This election is one that is getting very, very interesting. This same San Fernando West, a political party, was paying $350 to hundreds of persons in HDC to plead with them not to come and vote. When it is you start having situations like that, you're trying to bribe persons so that you can win an election, and you expect to have the ethics and the right to be in government. This same political party has now been giving away refrigerators and stoves in San Fernando West in the hope that you can bribe people to vote for you. They did the same thing in La Joquita, Talparo in the 2020 general election. You gave away 600 refrigerators and stoves and still lost a marginal by 2,000 votes. Do not question and undermine the intelligence of citizens of this country. But you're coming here and doing the same nonsense over and over. If you don't have that type of ethics to try to get into government, God knows how they're going to operate when they get in government. Paying people, bribing people not to vote, giving you refrigerators and stoves in the hope that you can get them to vote for you. And you want something like that to come and represent you. So there are people who will continue to steal, they will continue to cheat. Yellow is the code, but we are blue. Unbelievable. But you're even trying to steal colors. We have no intention for plagiarism. We have no intention to copy, because the team that I have around me in the National Transformation Alliance, when it is you see what we will be able to provide, it will show to the country that we have the best policies, principles, people, and the political will to transform Trinidad and Tobago. I want to go us now on to deal with principle, standing on principle. I ask all candidates of the National Transformation Alliance, I want you all to stand on principle. When you stand on principle, you're going to get far. Do not look at that short-term situation. I can boast that I was fired twice by 2 different governments, and I will do the same thing again. I was fired the first time because I was being influenced and pressured to lie in a police investigation to protect somebody. And I said, I'm not doing it. And then they had the audacity to say, well, just say you had amnesia. And I said, no, I'm not going to say I have amnesia. If something, I am going to say exactly what happened. And because I did that, I was fired. How could anybody in their right mind, and you have children, vote for something like that? because you want to vote for a political party that fired a minister of national security who was doing pretty okay because he refused to lie to protect one of your own. That is what they want, that group to hide there and to allow and cover up wrongdoing. I had to fight against my own government for something called live sport. Through the police, the police said, sir, you want us to fight crime, but your own government is giving hundreds of millions to gang leaders to give them contracts that they are using the funds to purchase more sophisticated weapons than us. They have better equipment than us. They are now hiring and contracting rogue police officers to make it difficult for us. And you want us to fight crime. So I was in Parliament showing that live sport must stop because it was a major byproduct and a catalyst towards crime in this country. My own government fought against me in Parliament, saying long live live sport and banging the table. I could stand up and fight against my own government. That is what I want. If something is wrong, do not cover it up. And this is the same political party that when I placed first, I got the highest points, 82%. For Commissioner of Police. The Police Service Commissioner that was previously appointed by that political party then decides to say, well, Gary, you came first with 82%, but we're going to place you fourth. That is the type of corruption we have. So because you are appointed by politicians, you decided to listen to them and change me from first to fourth, even though I got more percent than everybody else, beat everybody inside out, including Ula by over 30%. That is what we don't want. That same political party abstained from me being Commissioner of Police. That same political party used one of their senators to take the state to court to make sure I did not continue as a Commissioner of Police, because there are politicians and political parties that have a problem with persons with my standard, where I cannot be bought. I am not going to turn a blind eye to corruption, and I'm going to do what is right, even if it affects my own career and my own job. That is what I want. I want us to have persons with that degree of patriotism, that degree of pride, that degree of principle, to stand firm and say, I want to be a politician. I want to serve my country, not what is in it for me, but what is in it for the benefit of Trinidad and Tobago. So when people ask, well, the usual thing is why we just don't team up to beat the PNM. I would have problems. I will have problems working with individuals, the same individuals when I was minister, and you will go and give state contracts to gang members to build police stations. I will have a problem working now with certain persons when I was arresting persons. The next day he was there trying to get them released to get back out onto the streets. I will have problems working with individuals who I'm trying to arrest criminal elements, and they're romantically involved with them as well. Because I'm trying to say, well, no, it's a different thing. The lawyer has the right, that's his job. As I said, it's like you're working in an abattoir in the day, but in the night you want to say that you're in a cow petting zoo. It doesn't work that way. There's a saying you cannot be half pregnant. So you have to stand firm. It's either you're on right or wrong. You have to know if it is I am dealing with trying to make sure that the scales of justice can be tilted to such an extent it can benefit the law-abiding citizens rather than the criminal elements. And that is what I intend to continue doing. So basically what I would like you to do is to ensure that you are patriots before politicians. I have seen recently there was a situation that has taken place with there's that Dragon deal. It was no longer Enter the Dragon. Bruce Lee is no longer acting in Enter the Dragon. And the Dragon deal has collapsed. And what is amazing is that I am seeing people actually celebrating about this. They are pleased. You know why they are pleased? Because all they're seeing is the value of the politics rather than the value of you, the citizens of this country. To them, it's like, if this went through, it could have affected us politically because it'll make the other side look good. And now that it has collapsed, they do not care that it's going to affect our economy. Granted that it is that the administrators put all their eggs in one basket and now we may have to pay the price for it. But the point being is that for you to be ecstatic of the fact that something that could have benefited Trinidad and Tobago, you are happy that it has collapsed. It shows you being a politician before a patriot. So we have to be very careful. And again, as I will always say, come April the 29th, regardless of the result, there's going to be one prime minister. There's going to be one government. What are we going to do? Continue to put us versus them? That is what has divided the country. Politicians have done so much to destroy this country. I recall when I worked with I've worked as the right hand with Basdio Pandey, Patrick Manning, Keith Rowley, Kamala Prasad Bisesa, President Robinson as the military attaché. And I saw the difference in characters. And sometimes I look at the good and bad of all of them to try to mold myself after working with them. And with Basdio Pandey and Patrick Manning, they were political opponents, but they were never enemies. And you saw how they operated. Now we have seen politicians going out of their way to deliberately divide the country by spitting hate, anger, animosity, bitterness, trying to destroy the other. That can't be right. Your job as a politician, to the 16 other candidates, your job is to unite Trinidad and Tobago. We have a point where even a political party hired a social media prostitute to say the nastiest things about citizens in this country. You refer to women with the B word. You call others canal conks and latrine rats. You state that because a PNM member of parliament died in a fire, everybody else in the PNM must burn like them. You start even attacking my wife, who has a medical situation, attacking my children, and people want to vote for that? We must never, ever stoop to the depth like that in the desperate hope for us to want to have power. It is not about power, it's about serving, and that is not what serving is about. Testing. Yeah. Likewise, when it is I heard, I think it was when I heard us a member of parliament speaking and stating that a man raped his wife to make someone, and people praised them for that. I thought it could not get worse, but it has continued. It is hoped that the NTA will be in a position to try to build and unify Trinidad and Tobago, because as I said, the country has been divided. As we go on to manifestos, quick one-word points I want to bring today. Manifesto. Everybody's asking, where's our manifesto? So let me tell you something. You all understand the meaning of the word manifesto in Trinidad and Tobago's politics. The word manifesto means lies. The word manifesto means empty promises. The word manifesto means I am going to tell you things to try to impress you because it's my box of goodies. I'm Santa Claus. And more hospitals, more roads, more police stations. And all of these things they boast about in the hope that they can fool you into saying, yes, I'll vote for them because they're going to do all of this for me. But you know what? All a manifesto, everything in life and business, you must have income and expenditure. You must have the revenue. They never once say how they're going to get the revenue for all the things they promise you. So what happens is either they lie to the country with all of the promises, and most of the manifesto is never accomplished because when they get into government, they will say, oh, we didn't know the treasury was empty. So the manifesto was a lie to fool you into saying this is what we are going to provide. Or in the manifesto, they realize, look, we have to get it established, but we never stated how we're going to get the funding for it, how we're going to get the revenue. So guess what they turn to? Increasing taxes. So you increase taxes, it becomes a byproduct now that can affect persons. The cost of goods and services can go up. It can be a byproduct to cause unemployment because now if it is, I have to hire 10 persons and taxes go up, I may probably need to hire 8 to do the job of 10 and 2 of you all go home. Unemployment becomes a byproduct again to inflation, which becomes a byproduct towards increased crime. And again, one of the perfect examples is the PSA stating that they are going to start with wage negotiation with the UNC if they get into government at 10%. All well and good. I would love to give everybody 50% if I was prime minister. But you have to be logical. When you increase that at 10%, you're speaking about hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars. Where are you getting the income from? If you can't find the income, the revenue to offset that expenditure, what you're going to have is again to find an avenue to increase taxes. When you increase taxes, that becomes all of the things I spoke about. Inflation, increasing costs of goods and services, unemployment, increased crime. This is bad business. The reason I can speak about this when people say, well, Gary was never doesn't have the capability. As a Minister of National Security, I had a $6 billion budget. I never spent a cent over. I was able to have every single thing done in a meticulous manner. And that was the highest budget of any other minister in the People's Partnership government. So if anybody has the capability to know how to balance a budget and to run an administration, is myself. Likewise, as Commissioner of Police, I had a $3 billion budget. The then Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance stated that we in the police service, we were always number one in files, in returns, in balancing, and unlike other arms in the public service, never asked for a cent more. But people say, if I never asked for a cent more, how come we were able to implement so many things in the police service? Easy. It is the same thing that we need to do to transform Trinidad and Tobago. Cut the fat, cut out the corruption, cut out the bad management, cut out the poor leadership, put systems to measure performance and make people accountable, ensure that there are consequences, ensure that people can be rewarded. That is what we did for the police service. So, for example, if I discovered a couple hundred police officers claiming they were working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I was able to cut over $100 million per annum in overtime corruption. And I was able to use those funds to open a police marine branch, to get the National Operations Center, body cameras, tasers, pepper spray, GPS tracking on vehicles, new uniform, new units such as the Gender-Based Violence Unit, the Special Operation Response Team, the Operational Command Center, the Social Media Monitoring Unit. These things can be done without asking for a cent to increase. And with the capability of us doing that, it requires just good management, good leadership, not finding ways to tax people to balance a budget. There's a lot I could say, but I want to close because we made arrangements with not to rain up until the next 15 minutes. So I think I'm running out of time here. I want to make sure that all of you all are also very accessible. One of the biggest issues we have seen in Trinidad and Tobago politics is that they walk and they will walk for the 6 weeks and then immediately after election they disappear. You have to ensure that you have a situation where you can be accessible. You can provide the capability to show that, listen, I am here to serve you. We have lost that. We have lost that capability. I want you all to understand the importance of serving, not leading. And be honest. When you have political leaders coming on the platform, I love you. I love you. Nobody could love you as much as I love you. But you never walked anywhere for the last 20 years as a politician. You walk from your car to a platform, back to your car. But you love people. How you could love the person if you don't know them? Your job as politician, now that is cult behavior, by the way. That's like a Jim Jones thing with the Kool-Aid. Try to, oh, I love you, drink the Kool-Aid. Your job is not to try to fool people. Your job is not to love them. Your job is to serve them because you don't know them. Serve people. That is all it requires. Not try to fool them into believing that you love them. Serve people. 31 of the 45 US or 47 odd US presidents had military service. And there was a reason for that. Because it gave us that capability to understand that I am prepared to serve a stranger. I am prepared to take a bullet for that person. So when people speak about patriotism, loyalty, service to country, I have done it. I've spent 17 years in the Defense Force. I was the youngest officer in the attempted coup. I was the first Trinidad and Tobago citizen to return with a United Nations peacekeeping medal. As I said, I have worked as military attaché to 2 prime ministers and a president. I've worked as Defense Force head of intelligence. And I know what it is to serve a country. Being commissioner of police, there were 43 death threats on myself because for the first time, a commissioner of police was getting on the ground, leading by example, and prepared to take a bullet. As a leader, you must always be prepared to do every single thing you're asking those under your command to do. That is leadership by example. Get on the ground. You cannot be moving from your car to a platform and then bawling, I love you, I love you, I love you. If you're not prepared to work and pull up your sleeves, then you're not prepared to lead. I have walked the length and breadth of this country from local government election and even now. I've walked in the hills in Scorpion, in Paramin, in Sealots, in Beetham, Laventille, all in the hills in Arima. And everywhere I go, what I keep hearing is, you are the first person who was a commissioner of police ever up here. You're the first person who was ever a minister of national security we've ever seen here. You're the first political leader we've ever seen up here. And it shows the disrespect, how they discard you, because they believe that I have used you, I am in power now, and I don't need you again. We have to be very careful of the comments that we hear in the media over the next few days. There are certain persons who call themselves political analysts, and every single comment they make is going to be benefiting to one political party. So this is not for me to speak about Dr. Shane Mohammed or Dr. Indira Rampasa. That will all, if West Indies win a test match, they're going to praise the UNC for it. We need to be very careful. Do not be fooled by people who are using something as a political analyst and then try to impress you. Do not let people influence you. Even myself, what you need to do is to listen and ascertain if these people have the capability to make life better for me. Like, for example, school violence. You're hearing all of these ideas. Ideas is not what is required to transform Trinidad and Tobago. When we had the problem with school violence, as Commissioner of Police, I met the Minister of Education, and we said, what we're going to do? Look for the 30 highest risk schools, analyze the situation, have undercover officers that even the teachers and the students do not know about. Make sure we have the police app to have an immediate response. Make sure we have the emergency response patrol. Then we had situations such as Crossroads, where we trained 1,000 police officers to be brick brothers or sisters to 1,000 at-risk youths. That is how we were dealing with it. It all collapsed after I left. I'm hearing now a candidate from another party stating that the police do not have technology. That is untrue. The technology we left with the police service is what transformed the police service. When public trust and confidence in the police service was at its lowest, when I took over at 14%, I left it at the highest at 59%. And now it is down to the lowest again with 8%. And that is no fault of the police officers. That has to do with leadership. So the technology we had there is what transformed the police service. It put an end to kidnapping. Kidnapping was the norm in Trinidad and Tobago. We were able to utilize technology and rescue 12 victims, kick down doors and arrest kidnappers and rescue the victims. That has never been seen before in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Putting an end to kidnapping. Technology, we were able to put an end to home invasion. You jump over the wall, you use the police app, the online reporting, you call 999, immediately there will be a response. Put an end to home invasion. We put an end to extortion by covert operators, wait for you to come to collect the money and we take your wicket. These things can be done. The technology we had body cameras, we had GPS tracking on every police vehicle to ensure they stayed in their area of responsibility. What does that do? That was giving you a less than 5-minute response to a distress call. Criminals understood that, so they knew that if you call 999, in less than 5 minutes, a vehicle will respond to your door. And that is what the deterrent was. Now we've reached a point, someone will just go by a nightclub opposite the commissioner's residence, shoot someone in its head and walk away, and 45 minutes later, the vehicles will turn up. There's no fault of the officers. We had the technology to deal with social media monitoring, looking at gender-based violence by making sure you had online reporting. So if a woman is beaten or raped, you stay at home and we will come to your home. Not you having that situation, you're beaten and raped or whatever, and you turn up to a police station and the police officer who is badly trained will tell you, well, why you reach home 2 o'clock in the morning? We had qualified persons understanding the sensitivity and confidentiality of that. It lifted the reports and it ensured that there were consequences for the perpetrators. So we had all of these different things to show that we have the capability to transform the police service. If we can transform the police service, we can transform every arm in the public service. And that is what we intend to do. Utilizing again the principle of leadership, accountability, management, and measurement of performance. Trinidad and Tobago, we have endured our darkest hour based on the situation with crime. But the NTA is more than just being able to provide you with your most fundamental right of safety and security. No other political party has the capability than what we have. So you just have to say to yourself, a PNM till a dead. Well, that might very well happen because you're going to vote for a party that doesn't have the capability that what the NTA could provide for you. A born at UNC and a good die at UNC. Their ideas to reduce crime is to piggyback and copy every single thing that Gary Griffith did. We have, and this is not about Gary Griffith alone, we have individuals. You heard Commander Norman Dindial. This is one of the most qualified persons in the Coast Guard. He had hundreds of millions of dollars in equipment and was involved in major operations all over the world. We have Major Dirk Barnes, one of the best persons in dealing with IT. We have Captain Mark Jardine, one of the most qualified pilots that they had from the Air Guard. We have Paul Nahus, one of the most qualified firearm experts, and several others. And it is not just about national security. We have the same system of qualified people in education, health, the economy, and so forth. So my point before I close is we are not going to give you a manifesto. We are not going to lie to you. We are not going to give you empty promises. What we are going to give you is a roadmap towards the transformation of Trinidad and Tobago. We have seen political parties speak about, we are going to put a ministry of AI. Well, duh, you already have a ministry of digital transformation. But you know, they feel they must come up with new ideas. Another says we have a ministry of efficiency. No, you just need to put systems to measure performance and make every single employee in each ministry accountable to lift their standard of efficiency. Because every time you open a new ministry, it is going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars of your taxpayers' dollars. When you look at the size of Trinidad and Tobago, we have more ministries than other countries that are 10 times our size, because everybody needs to be a minister to ensure that the prime minister could make you a minister so that you will be able to vote for me in parliament and there wouldn't be a coup d'etat. Our job is to minimize expense whilst not affecting productivity. So the roadmap towards transformation is to ensure that the present ministries, we will monitor their performance, make them accountable, make sure they're efficient. And by doing that, it is going to lift the standard. Before I close, as I said, if we could have transformed the police service that you all thought was the most corrupt, most inefficient, to being seen as Trinidad and Tobago's finest, you felt safer. We knew what was happening. We knew what we were doing. We could change every arm in the public service to provide the service that you require. Trinidad and Tobago, on April 28th, I ask you all to make that right choice. Make that decision. Do not vote based on blind loyalty. Vote based on what you think can be best for you. I'm a Manchester United fan, but I could tell you one thing. This is one time I'll take a line from another club. I am here with you, and I will always walk with you. So as Liverpool fans will say, you will never walk alone. I'll always be there by your side, being prepared to serve you. If after the 20th of April, I am not selected to serve you, I will continue to find an avenue to provide you with that opportunity. That's what I'm here for, to serve Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you.
Vote NTA for real transformation.